Welcome to Aware. We are dedicated to communicating information that inspires your positive growth and change. Are you interested in a peaceful planet? Are you interested in optimal health? Are you living with purpose? Are you enjoying your life? We realize each person can make a difference, and our mission is to empower your awareness. The choices that you make in every moment shape your life, and we encourage you to realize that you have your own answers and to always listen to your own truth. We invite you to stay aware.
Hello and welcome to the Aware Show. I am Lisa Garr, and I'm so honored to have this conversation with you today because we get to talk about the incredibly validated, powerful connection between your mind and your body and how one heals the other. And by the way, if you are listening to this on the radio, you can definitely always listen to the show on demand on our podcast, the Aware Show podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, go there on demand, especially if you hear something that you like and say you want to share it with a friend because it's powerful and important. Do that, because sharing is how this information gets communicated to multiple people, and healing really spreads that way. So Brandy Gillmore is joining me today. She is just an absolutely brilliant soul, and she has been a researcher and a mind-body healing expert for many, many years, probably her whole lifetime, because she had her own radical healing experience that she will tell us about. And she has even shown visual proof of the power of the mind using medical thermal imaging. And she's done these incredible studies. She's had breakthrough results. She has been published in a prestigious medical journal. And she is a friend. She's an amazing friend. And I'm very excited to have Brandy join us today. And by the way, she has a brand new book out so everybody could get and explore. And Brandy, say hi.
Hi, Lisa. I just absolutely adore you. And you're a wonderful, wonderful, just friend, human being. You have a beautiful heart. And so thank you for having me. And you're beautiful.
Well, I love what you're doing. And by the way, the name of the book is called Master Your Mind and Energy to Heal Your Body. And that is exactly what we're talking about. Mastering your mind and energy to heal your body. It's true mastery, though. This isn't something you just fall off the turnip truck and figure out. You had to go through quite the long healing journey to get here, didn't you?
Can I tell you, I love that you said that, because all of the time, even when I show results under medical equipment, I always tell people, and I make this look really easy. I'll show somebody releasing their own pain using just their mind or creating radical shifts. And I'm like, but there are key factors to it. And yeah, exactly. I learned them in, going through my own injury, and then of course, helping others.
So tell us a little bit about your own injury back into the OG story of Brandy. You started off in athletics and competitions and so forth, and ended up with quite an interesting illness.
Yeah, this is literally the last thing I ever thought that I would be doing. So I used to be very, very athletic. And then as far as work, I used to work in network engineering and operations. And about 21 years ago now, but I had an accident, and technically two accidents. I had a car accident and then a fall, and I fell just wrong, just right, however you want to say it. But basically, I went from living a full life to being wheelchair, walker, cane, in extreme pain. Many days I was just in so much pain, I didn't even want to move or breathe. And that was my life. And my doctors, they had been trying everything from nerve ablations, infusions, injections. And they just said there's nothing else they could do for me.
How old were you at the time?
That is a great question.
Like in your 30s, right? I mean, just way too young.
I never know my age.
Right, exactly.
I don't attach to. I would say early 20s.
Early 20s. Oh, wow.
Early
Way
20s.
too early for you to be wheelchair bound, cane walking. It was not a fit. It was, and I see people get into these experiences that it just changes their life and the trajectory of your life.
it changes everything because I had been on this like fast track. I felt like I finished high school early. So I started my high school paid for me to start going to college. So then I went to college early. Then, technology was booming. So the .com, all of that. So this was that whole time. And so I got into, telecommunications and working for these top telecommunications companies and figuring out all these, like my life was really like, bought my own house at like age 19. I mean, I was just doing all of these.
Overachiever.
I
Awesome.
know. Right. And
Yeah.
so I was doing all of these things, and then it just came to a sudden halt. And then when my doctor said there was nothing they could do, it was just like, whoa, everything stopped.
hmm And how did you discover that your mind had 100% responsibility in the matter?
Well, it is literally the last thing I would have thought.
Anyone would think, yeah.
Yeah, I would have thought, look, I'm a train wreck, and there is no way that my mind can possibly heal my body. I had an accident, I have physical injuries, I have a neurological disorder, all of these things. But once I was out of options, I had tried diet and supplements and all of these things. Basically, long story short, I kept asking for more answers and saying, but there has to be something. So I started going to this top research hospital where I would see multiple doctors, 2, 3, 4 doctors at a time. They would come in, evaluate me, try to make a plan. And then there was a study that was coming up, and they got me into the study. Like they pulled some strings to get me into it. They were like, all right, you have to, they were like, okay, let's get you in. So they got me in. Long story short, the day came for the study, and the doctors that were running the study said, we don't expect you to get better. You can't be in this.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Wow. How devastating.
I know. So that's exactly like when he sat there and told me, I felt like I swallowed a tennis ball. I was just trying to like choke back tears, which I was not doing a good job at. And then the next day I was, just in my same bed in all of this pain. And the first thing I was just thinking, like I was laying there and I was like, I don't even want to open my eyes. I'm done. Like, I don't want to live anymore. There's no point. And I had this thought or this voice come into my mind that was like, well, what about the placebo? And it led me on this incredible journey of understanding the mind. And I made a ton of mistakes, probably more mistakes than any, but like at first I thought that the placebo was all about belief. You just have to believe. So I was forcing myself to believe and feeling grateful for my healing. And I was researching everything from metaphysics to neuroscience and everywhere in between. And after like a long time, well over a year of trying to force myself to believe I was already healed and writing affirmations and chanting and doing mantras and all of these things, it wasn't working.
Really?
And then, yes. So I started researching.
We hear about this all the time. All you have to do is the affirmations and the mantras, and you have to pray like this every day and hear voices. And you're saying that didn't work.
It didn't work. It didn't work. And there were multiple insights that I had. So one, as far as belief, I came across something called the open label placebo, which is exactly like it sounds, open label. So both the doctor and the patient both know it's fake, and it still works. And
wow.
And I was like, okay, well, clearly it's not all about belief then. Yeah. And this is the open label placebo has been around like something around like the 1960s from Johns Hopkins. So it's not, yeah. So there was that. And then I kept researching, and because then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do more meditation and theta state and delta state and hypnosis. And and because sometimes when I was doing meditations or whatnot, I could get my pain to come down. So I thought, okay,
more of this, more of the same.
More, better, 15 types of meditation and a theta state and delta. So I was doing like all of these things. And then, a few years later, after it still wasn't working, I could get my pain down, but my life wasn't changing. My body wasn't healing. And I had this experience where one of my friends, her aunt was passing from lung cancer, and she called me up and asked me if I wanted to say goodbye. And I said, yeah, definitely. So she picked me up and she took me over to her house, and, I was saying goodbye to this beautiful soul. And in that moment, as I saw her, she had been in and out of consciousness, and she had been in hospice for several months. And I thought, well, gosh, this is probably what I look like, because I was in this like deep state of relaxation, hours and hours on end. And I thought, if she's not healing, and if this deep state of relaxation is supposed to be so healing, then why isn't this person healing? Yeah. Why isn't she healing? And why don't other people?
And why haven't you, after doing the belief work and the mantra work and the placebo work, all of that, you're doing right.
Yeah. And it wasn't working.
Wow.
And so, but to your point, when you said this isn't just like you have to understand how to do it, exactly. It's not just like, okay, and that's where I got to. I was like, all right, so I need to understand how this works and why this works. And that's what started by like this insane thing of going, how do I figure it out? And then how do I show it under medical equipment? And how do I? So it drove me to the next level. And I think one of the things that was eye-opening was multiple personality disorder. You know, the awareness that people with multiple personality disorder can have different ailments when they're in different personalities. That was eye-opening.
Fascinating. Yes, that definitely shows the power of the mind. It does. It does.
Yeah. And there was even this study of a woman who was blind in some personalities, but not others, and not faking it, like medically blind, and all kinds of things, asthma, allergies, where somebody could be extremely allergic to something in one personality, but also other things like body temperature, blood pressure, heart rate. And so it really made me start looking at how does this work? Everything's pointing to the mind, placebo, nocebo, stress, multiple personality. I mean, all of these things. And that it made me delve in.
Now your engineering mind needed to unpack this whole thing and say, well, how? So you said you took you to the next level. What was that next level?
The key is in the details, you know, and that's what I started doing. So that's next level of saying, okay, well, I can't just bypass this. I can't just think positive and like, what do I need to know? And so I started simplifying it. And I thought, well, okay, how can I see that the mind affects the physical body? Well, emotions. Okay, so if somebody's embarrassed, their face turns red. We all know that. Emojis know that, you know? And so,
the blood rushes to the head. Yes, yes.
Right? Okay, that's it. And so we could see that. And I, of course, if somebody's having anxiety, they have a panic attack. We know that. Sexual thought, sexual physical response, different for men and women, but there's an obvious reaction there. And of course, I thought, well, I'm going to need a lot more than emotions. But I also started looking at things like, you know, if broken heart syndrome, where somebody can die of a broken heart.
Yes. Or the spouses that die separate, maybe very close to each other. Yes.
Widowhood effect, where a senior loses exactly. Or even, what is it? Scared to death, where somebody can be so scared, their heart stops.
Heart stops. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even there's even recent research that was published on with Harvard that is basically suggests that even autoimmune conditions may be caused by stress. And but either way, like we can see all of these ways that emotions affect the body. And I mean, if we even think about the Bible for a moment, I mean, even in the Bible, it says a merry heart is a medicine, ill thoughts will dry the bones. It's literally all around us. And so that was helpful. And there were a few key insights that were really powerful. One is that I started looking at it and I said, okay, well, if we see these emotions, then what are the other emotions that we have? What are those doing? What is abandonment?
So if those happy emotions are so powerful, or they can emote us into sickness, then what do the depressing, negative, fearful emotions do?
Yeah. Or even if we can see embarrassment, if we know panic, if we know sexual thought, if we know scared to death, and we know broken heart syndrome, what about anger? What about resentment? So what about all these? And by the way,
betrayal, lack of forgiveness. Yes.
Abandonment, hurt, rejection, all of these things. Now, by the way, what if we're disgusted by something? What can we do? We can be, oh, I want to get nauseous. And So what we can see all of these emotions that show up in different ways. And so what is it, like 10 emotions affect the body and the rest just don't? And so I started saying, well, what are these other emotions doing that we just don't realize that they're doing? And that was one. The other profound insight was that I started looking at it objectively. And I thought, just, my skeptical mind and research mind was like, okay, well, I can see that. But there are people with extreme PTSD who are very traumatized, who aren't physically sick. And there are people who have less stress who are. How does that work? And what I began to put together was that it takes a combination of emotions. And that was the next key. And a simple way to illustrate that is if you think about somebody who wants to make cake, if they're wanting to make cake, they have flour, you can't make cake. If you add the other ingredients, you can make a cake. Obviously, illness is not cake.
Yes, it takes ingredients, though, is what you're saying. There's more than one way to heal. It's a combination.
It's a combination. Yeah. And different ingredients, different combinations, which then I was looking at multiple personality disorder. The reason why it would be possible for somebody to have different ailments and different personalities because it's different recipes. And so
not the same for everyone, though, right?
Or well, it depends, because in some ways, so for example, one of these recipes, if you will, or one of the combinations. So I would say there are common categories of emotions. And that's what I have people do to heal, is I help them to figure out what specific emotions are affecting their physical body and then change those emotions. Okay. And the emotional pattern. And so a simple example of another emotion that can be a factor is if somebody's been ill for a long period of time, it can become part of their identity that there are somebody who is sick.
Absolutely. Or not only ill, but have trauma, story, all of that can become the pattern, right?
All of that. And so if it's part of their identity, then it's like they either identify as a sick person, so it stays there, or they keep creating that. So that's one. Another ingredient can be lack of love or lack of safety. And those sound kind of simple. And the only reason they sound simple is because we kind of know that, if somebody's in a lot of fear or stress, we have fight, flight, lack of love. Even the Surgeon General last year released a statement that loneliness can increase chance of illness of type 2 diabetes and on all different types of illnesses. So we can see there's a link. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm just saying, hey, what are all the links? It's not just one. It's like there's always multiple things. What are the specific links? Let's identify those and let's change them. And that's how I've been able to show people how to heal, not just from pain, but all kinds of things.
So it's a combination of the emotions and what you're identifying as. So if somebody has a breakup, they're identifying as divorced. These are labels. They're identifying as fired. They're identifying as depressed. these labels give us identities, right?
Exactly. But if the identity is illness, I'm an ill person, that's when so we could have an identity as somebody can have an identity as being traumatized, but that doesn't mean they'll be sick unless they have an identity that says, I'm sick. I see myself as somebody who's always
a sick, traumatized person. Yes.
Yeah. Or another way it can work as well with identity is that, let's say somebody has a parent who is ill and they see themselves as being like that parent or friend. And I've seen people in that same situation also. So it's these emotions, and there's also some complexities to it, because a lot of times there can be miswired emotions that don't make logical sense. And that's a key as well. So again, and I hate to make it sound complex, but even in the beginning, as you mentioned, it's not like we just sprinkle fairy dust. There's a real changes.
Yes, combinations. And those are widely outlined in the book, Master Your Mind and Energy to Heal Your Body. And again, that book is available anywhere. It's in-depth book illustrating what Brandy's talking about in terms of the emotions, the consciousness. And a lot of these things, by the way, are unconscious. These patterns, these identities, unconscious. I always think about if you ever go to a doctor's office and they ask you for your medical history and you have to put down all the illnesses of your brother, father, mother, sister, and there you're identifying right there with, I mean, I would fill up 2 pages with that. And I always skip it because I'm like, I'm not identifying with it. They're on their path with their illnesses. And I have me. This is me.
That is so smart.
Athletics. I choose. Yeah. I mean, it's a thing. I'm not making anyone wrong for it. I just choose a different way to not identify with the heart disease and the cancer and the this and the that. My mom always reminds me though. She does a really good job of reminding me. But I don't know. Is that irresponsible?
I mean, this is what I would do personally. Like, write it down maybe once and then say, just please note, I'm not going to be like, keep this in your chart. I personally,
Yeah.
And this is why, if you think about it for a moment, okay. So even as I was researching, if you think about placebo, nocebo, somebody can take a fake pill. And if they take the fake pill and they believe that it's going to help their blood pressure, it can. And somebody else could take the same fake pill and believe that it could give them hives, and it could. And so point being is that if there's a placebo and you believe that you're predisposed to XYZ, that's probably, it's probably not the best thing you want.
Right. Well, also from what we're talking about today and what Brandy's experience has been is not on the medical background. Her experience is witnessing and working with people to help their emotions. This is things you're not going to find in a medical office. Emotions, unconscious patterns. Where are you identifying yourself through? How are you stuck? How do we get those emotions to the surface so that you can identify what patterns are running your life? That doesn't come in a medical chart. It comes with somebody who's worked to heal their mind and their body and has worked with thousands of people to do the same. And I'm so glad you finally put it all in a book, because I could never describe what you do. I'm like, you're amazing, but how do you do this?
The funny thing is that, so after I healed myself, I thought people are going to think this is impossible, but I have to show them so everybody knows, because it's like, we don't know that these emotions are affecting us. So it's kind of like this. It's kind of like watching, like if somebody was walking around and they have an anxiety attack and they don't know it's from emotions. So they're saying, check my heart, check my lungs, check I don't know what's happening. I wonder what's causing this. And you go, well, okay, there's emotions that are affecting you that are causing this, but people don't realize all these other emotions are causing and connecting to the illness or the problem or the pain or whatnot. And so I wanted to show people. So I started taking people and helping them to release pain and showing them. And then that's when I thought, okay, well, I have to show this under medical equipment. And then that's when it's just funny that you say, I finally put it in a book, because it's been this I never thought I would be doing this. I just wanted to show people that it works. So then I started showing people, and then I started just helping people to get results. And then I was asked to do a TED talk, and then I did that. And then I was like, I have to put this in a book. And then the agent said, well, and the publisher said, you need to have a bigger following. And I was like, fine, I'm going to start a podcast where I show people how to release their own pain. And then I did that. And so it just became this, okay, I'm going to do this book. Okay, I better publish it in a medical journal. So it all just has been this desire to just want to help everybody know that we have this ability.
Right. Can you talk about some of the thermal imaging that you did and the medical journal publishing and so forth? Can you just tell us about those experiences?
Absolutely. And out of curiosity, are we on video or audio only?
Both.
Both. Okay. So I could also show it while I'm doing that. I can show a screenshot if that is helpful for a visual.
Yes, and also describe it. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Our radio listeners will appreciate that.
Absolutely. I will 100% describe it. All right. So basically so what I started doing is, when I wanted to show how this works. What I thought about using is medical thermal imaging. And a simple way to explain this is that if you've ever had maybe a sprained ankle or an infection and you noticed heat coming from that particular ailment, that's what happens is when we have illness or infection or whatnot, then what happens is it emits a type of heat. Medical thermal imaging is able to detect this heat at a really, really advanced level. And so what I started doing is I started just working with people and showing it under thermal medical imaging. And what I would do is, let's say that somebody had neck pain. And so what I would do is take the person with neck pain and put them, have them scanned under medical imaging.
Yep.
And what you would see under the scan is their neck area or upper back area would be all red from pain and inflammation. And for anybody who is on camera, you can see that on this left slide right here, where you see all the red inflammation, the red, this on the
heat.
scan.
Yeah. So if this is thermal, that's essentially heat that's coming from inflammation, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
And then what I've been able to do is then I'll show people how to use their mind, changing a combination of emotional patterns. And you'll literally see on this scan how it turns from red to green as their pain goes away. And for anybody who's on video, as you can see on the image with the green, that's what happens. And so this person, it took about 22 minutes for this
Wow.
particular session. And so you can see the difference. And what's also fun, this one was a bit longer. This one was 47 minutes, which for anybody on only audio, you can see it's just somebody's back that's all red with pain. And then you see them, the next one is green. And so what's amazing about it is it's great to see, you can see that it's not just mind over matter, that there's actual physiological changes taking place. Now,
and when you say these are like a 20-minute intervention or 28-minute intervention, what does that entail?
That entails talking with somebody and helping them to basically identify these specific emotions and then helping them to shift them. And so let's say somebody's been feeling a lot of anger. Then I might say to them, and that's part of it. Then I might say, okay, well, you have all this anger, are you sure you want to keep it? Let's talk about that. What if you started changing this anger? And what if you let it go? What if you actually started taking control of your own life and your own emotions and you let that go and you stepped into, empowerment or love and you started coming from that place? And, so I might coach them on, hey, and so but the key part is identifying those specific emotions and then helping them to make a change. Now, one thing that's really cool about this scan that's on the screen, which this
you can see
gentleman,
on, by the way, our YouTube channel, if you want to watch this on YouTube and on demand anytime too. So the Aware Show YouTube channel, you can see the visuals. But this gentleman, yes.
Beautiful. He had a level 6 of pain. And as you can see on the scan, it's all red and yellow and all of the pain. And he was able to release it in 28 minutes. He went from a level 6 of pain to a 0 of pain. And what's fun about this is that after I finished working with him, he said, wow, I'm surprised that worked. He had just come from a motivational seminar and also a 10-day meditation retreat. So he went to those events back to back. And he was still in pain. And then he came in and I didn't know it at the time. I just helped him to identify what was it and helped him to create that shift. And so, but that's the medical thermography. And so I just had some case studies published in a journal last year because I've been doing the thermography for about almost 10 years now, but I like for people to see the results.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so do those last? Do they stay once they understand the shifts in their mind? That's the daily practice. That's the true practice, isn't it? It's not the practice of meditation or affirmations. It's really the practice of aligning your mind with your emotions, isn't it?
I love your question. And I would say this, I would say that some people that I work with, literally they change, they go, okay, that's what's affecting me. Done. Not going back into it. That's it. And I actually have a video on my website of that very thing. A woman who did, she had neck pain one time. I think that video was taken like 8 years ago. Her neck pain never came back. It had been chronic before that. Done. Now, in the other case, I might help somebody to release their pain, and maybe they still have triggers. They still have some layers. So maybe their husband or wife or kids trigger them or upset them with something. They go back into it. But what's great is now they know what it is. And so now they can say, okay, well, let me work on this emotion, because it does take genuine change. And so if it's been a really hard pattern for some people, it might take them longer. I mean, one woman that I worked with who went through my video course, it took her about 9 months she went from bedridden for 8 years to now she's running and all of these things. And it took her about 9 months to walk, but it took her like 2 months after that to then do her first marathon.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I mean, there's so much
Walk
more.
her first marathon, not run, but walk her first marathon.
It's hey, she's out of bed.
Yeah.
Your website, it's brandygillmore.com, right?
Yes.
2 L's. So on that, when you talked about the woman with the neck, what was her issue, since it's public, that helped her change permanently?
You know what I have to say is that is a really fantastic question. And I have probably helped 1,000 people release permanent,
Yes.
since that, I don't know how many I've helped release pain
Well,
since.
I guess
I've
I'm looking
lost
for an
it. So,
example. So like if somebody has
okay.
pain in their neck and they are going through a difficult breakup, that maybe the relationship was just a pain in the neck.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, but see, this is what's interesting also, is that the emotions can show up in, like, that's even part of what's in the book, is if we think about idioms, we think about that exactly. Like somebody says, oh, so and so is a pain in the neck, or we've been spinning on something for a long period of time, or so and so stabbed me in
Like
the
a pain in
back.
stab me in the back, or a pain in my side. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, a thorn in my
Absolutely.
side.
Thorn in my side.
Absolutely. Or even if you think about low back pain, in some cases, and there can be multiple meanings for each part of the body, but if you think about the back support, back is what supports us of the low back. And so that might be feeling unsupported in life, feeling like we have to do everything ourselves, or guilt, or feeling lack of money, or even some people get stressed for having too much money, and then that can affect them, the support, or maybe they feel like my wife isn't doing enough, or my husband, or so and so. So it can show up in a variety of different ways. But that's and
what about shoulders? I broke both my shlders 6 months ago.
Yeah, they don't recommend anybody does that. So feeling like there's just too much weight on my shoulders, everything's on my shoulders, I can't do this, I don't want to do this anymore, I am pissed because everything is just on my shoulders.
Done. Yes, absolutely. And so that I learned the hard way to ask for support, because I literally couldn't use my arms for 3 months. Both of them.
Yeah. And did you feel a little bit like everything was on your shoulders?
Oh, definitely. And the feeling I felt when I couldn't use my arms was absolute frustration, anger, helplessness, and embarrassment. And all of that was associated with, I'm not asking for help, I'm martyring, family pattern, martyr, total victim, stuck in that victim archetype, all that family pattern stuff.
Yeah, but I do have to say, in addition, that's what's okay. So to your point, that's what's kind of interesting about the mind, because is that, we can love somebody and we can also be mad at them or hurt by them. So we can have a lot of mixed emotions. And so here you are, nobody would think you have a victim archetype, because you are just incredible. You are fierce and fabulous and amazing. You have a beautiful heart. You're an amazing mother. You show up to life in so many beautiful ways, and your success and the things you've been able to accomplish. And then here you have this victim pattern too. And it's like,
right, it's underneath there, stuck into the lurking parts of the subconscious mind. Yes, 100%. We look at some of the most successful people that way, and they have this pattern that's running unconsciously. And I unfortunately didn't see the signs I was just going and running and doing and successing and all of that. I didn't see the signs that were saying, if you really want to, because I was praying, I really want to get to the next level of my life. What's the next level? What's the next level? What I learned was, Brandy, I was never going to get to that next level because I still had this pattern that was sabotaging me and ripping the rug out from me every time I tried to get to that next level. The rug out, the shocker.
But this is what's great, is that most people don't even realize it's there. And that's actually why I call, like, and you'll see in the book, but as you know, the process is called the gift method. And the reason that I call it the gift method is because, you know, the things that were affecting me with my health, I would have never even known or guessed. And so my body being then injured helped me to say, okay, what's going on? What is off? What's in my subconscious mind? And when I did exactly that and began understanding what was in my subconscious mind, it became a life-changing gift because I changed it. And so that's the way I look at it on a spiritual level, is that it's like a check engine light on a car. It's like, if you have a check engine light, something is off in your car. And if you have an illness, something is off in life, even if we don't consciously realize it. And when we address it, it becomes a gift.
And somehow it sneaks up on you and it says, oh, you're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to see it. You're not supposed to recognize this pattern. You can blame this person, blame that circumstance, say that this was done to me, not for me. And it absolutely changes your awareness. So I suggest reading Brandy's book first and not throwing yourself on the concrete, and mastering your mind and energy first so that you can heal your body, which is the name of the book, and really getting to how you can be, and the subtitle, I love it. You can be your own cure. You can be your own cure. And that's why I'm so grateful that you actually got into this with us, to show people how you can do this, and how, you know, wonderful forward by Dr. David Perlmutter, who I absolutely love, who is a brilliant with longevity and every other type of medicine, and has you have that connection here. So tell me a little bit about, I know that you work with people on a daily basis, all day, with people. How have people learned from the book or learned from one of your courses? Because it takes outside guidance. It really does, to get this.
You know, actually, I feel really blessed that people go through the course all the time and they get results on their own. I actually don't work with that many people. I've been busy writing the book and doing and medical studies and all of these things that I don't. But it's great, because then people, like somebody just wrote in the other day and was like, "Oh my gosh, I've been in pain since the 90s, and by week 2 of being in your course, the pain is gone. I can't believe this." And you know, it's
Tell me about the course.
The course is really, really cool. The course is, it basically, this is what I love about it. Not only does it help you to understand the information, but it helps you to access the different emotions, because part of what has to happen is you've got to create new neural pathways to create a change, right?
Okay.
And for me, kind of going through my injury, a simple way to think about neural pathways, let's go here, is like this, is that, you know, when we all learned to use the alphabet, to be able to learn the alphabet, we had to do it over and over and over again, then we knew it. Now, if every day we just woke up and said, think of a bunch of letters, we would have never really learned the alphabet.
Right.
And similarly, a lot of people go, well, I'm just going to think positive. Okay. But that doesn't create a patterned way of thinking and feeling. And our brains work in patterns of emotions. So people don't create positivity as a pattern. Instead, it becomes an effort that we have to consciously think about, and the emotions aren't wired in. So it's not pivotal. And so what I started doing was thinking in terms of patterns. If the brain works in terms of patterns, let me create some patterns. And so you create patterns of happiness, patterns of positivity. And I careful a little bit about patterns of gratitude, because it's so common. But what also happens is that some people will have patterns of maybe like guilt or undeserving or self-punishment inside. and then they go, oh, I'm grateful for this and I'm grateful for this, and it backfires because it's just like it doesn't work the way they want it to, because there's also those other guilt feelings, et cetera, et cetera. So, but simply put, establishing patterns. So the video course is really great because what happens is, to create patterns, what do we have to do? We have to access the same emotions over and over and over again.
Over and over. Yes. Repeating it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Just like an alphabet, we have to access the alphabet over and over and over to get it programmed in. And so what I love about the video course is it explains in depth how to understand emotions, how to rewire and reprogram and repattern the mind, and also helps you access them over and over and over and over again to do that. And the other great thing is it's got like a database in it. So, you know, it's, so yeah, you see.
Insane. That's insane. It identifies every part of the body and the psychological aspects. So, like, for example, knees. And there's multiple things that knees could represent, right?
Exactly. And so, and the way that it's set up is that you don't have to go through all the data for everybody. It just go to your specific things. When you're in there, go look up your specific things, and then it gives the information for that. So, and it also what I also love is it also then helps you to understand how you can identify and have a relationship with your own body, because I feel like on a spiritual level, we're all supposed to have exactly that. And that's what happened with me, is even as I healed myself, I got this amazing intuition or ability with my mind. I mean, it's just it's changed my life and the way I think in so many ways.
As you say, it's a gift. I mean, you looked at your experience and your illness as a gift. I could look back at this experience of the accident I had as a gift. As a gift.
Yeah,
And
but there's a simple thing. You want to make sure and not look at the accident as a gift. Because I've had people before where I'm getting off stage and they go, gosh, I wish I had some accident that made me change my life. And I'll say to people, like, think about it. Most people who have what I had don't get better. So the accident was not the gift. The fact that I changed and I understood the mind in a different way and implemented was the gift. So skip the messed up part and keep the good
yes,
part.
yes. No, I have interviewed several people that say cancer is a gift and so forth, but you really want to go right to the gift.
Can skip the problem, do it better than I did it.
I highly suggest that. Does this type of mind body connection, does it also impact abundance and finances? I mean, it can't just stop at the body, does it?
Everything that you do with changing your mind can definitely impact every area of your life. And I've seen that, by the way, that like I've had people before who had some type of illness, and maybe as part of the ingredients, self-criticism was part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that person's company, they were also losing a ton of money and having all this stress and debt and all of these problems. And basically in fixing self-criticism, what happens, people will change. So in this specific person, and I've seen it multiple times, instead, as they really transform into feelings of self-confidence and self-love and feeling incredible from that place, I mean, this person's business is just thriving, making millions. And so I see people all of the time from that place create a huge change
of capability and expansion. A lot of our parents' generation came from the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of scarcity, generational scarcity that happens that we see in our parents' generation these days, those that were raised around, 20s to 40s. How can we reprogram generational scarcity?
See, this is the thing. Okay, so how can we reprogram generational scarcity? There are multiple ways. Now, this may or may not affect a person's health. Now, kind of bridging the gap real quick. What's incredible is that I'll see people all the time who then heal themselves, who understand how to get real results. Because by now, a lot of people, we hear more and more about manifesting and the power of the mind, and our thoughts help create our lives. But a lot of people aren't really getting the results that they really want. But the great thing is about healing is you can't trick your body. You can't trick universe, God, divine energy, whatever you want to call it. So what I love about healing with the mind is you have to have real change. And then it shows you this is what real change looks like. So you have to learn how to get real change. And then in some cases, that could be towards somebody with their wealth. In other cases, people may say, okay, well, now I know how to create change in my mindset for healing. Let me apply this to other areas of my life, and then look at generational wealth or generational scarcity or whatnot. Now, in a case of generational scarcity, it really depends on how a person takes in the information. Some people may have fear linked up to money. They may hate money. They may feel, and so what happens is they can have all of this wounding and this dislike around money,
Mhm.
and their life reflects that. Or they may feel like, their parents were upset about money or upset with wealthy people, in which case they're hating wealth. And
Right.
if you're hating wealth, like it depends on how it shows up, but genuine change.
Now, we've talked a lot about how to identify these different types of thought patterns that really could sabotage our health and the mind-body connection. Is there a test, or is there an exercise that we could do that's like a short exercise that could help us maybe identify some of this understanding of what we need to do to heal?
We could absolutely. I'm gonna warn you. There is as far as healing goes, the one that comes to mind, it's extremely ridiculous.
Okay, love ridiculous. It makes it easy.
Okay. But to me, going through meditating for years and affirmations and all of these things, and when it not working, to me, the biggest gift, the biggest empowerment to healing was understanding how, with clarity, how to do it. So in other words, what I'm saying is this exercise is completely ridiculous, and it's also very insightful.
Okay.
And so here we go. All right. So remember, it is ridiculous, but it's profound, and I'll tell you why afterwards.
Okay.
Just a disclaimer. All right. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and breathe. And I'm going to ask you just for a moment to close your eyes and even picture yourself that you're sitting there at the table, and somebody you love is making you your most favorite meal ever. They're making you your most favorite meal. And think about how that would feel. How that would feel to you. Somebody you love is making you your favorite meal. How that would feel. And now I'm going to ask you to breathe and just notice how that would feel, and then set that aside completely. Set it aside and send it into the energy, into the universe for that to happen. And beautiful. And just set that aside completely. Now we're going to go into a completely different vision. Completely separate. Now instead, I want you to picture yourself. You're sitting there with the silver spoon, and you take a huge scoop of worms, and you take it towards your mouth like you're going to eat it.
Oh.
And there we go. Okay, now delete. Get rid of it. Now again, this is profound, ridiculous. I warned you, but profound. Now this is why. Okay, number one, if we go way into it, so that's what I said: delete, get rid of it. Rainbows, butterflies, wonderful smells, everything great. Okay, so one thing is this: is that first and foremost, if we keep going into it, we could actually gag or feel like
right
from an imagined experience that wasn't even real.
Right.
Number one. Number two, our ancestors, depending upon, ate worms. So this is programmed cultural information. This is not innate information. This is programmed in us at a young age. And not only that, but I could meditate for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And that's not going to go away unless I reprogram it. I did spend several years meditating, and that programming didn't go away. It is still there. And so my point being is we have underlying emotions that are going on that are affecting us in different ways. And that to get fast results, if we can laser focus on what is the emotion that is impacting my body, what am I imagining maybe in my mind, or maybe it's really happening, but what emotion is somehow impacting my body in ways that I don't realize, Let me address that and let me change that. And that's how we get real results.
But I don't want to eat worms. Worms would hurt my stomach.
But that's your belief but my point is not about being able to eat worms. My point is, watch this. If you meditated for the next 20 years, would that pattern go away?
No.
Exactly. So a lot of times people are meditating, trying to heal. And while some meditations may be great and beneficial, to get radical results, we have to target the specific trigger. What is the specific underlying emotion? So it's my norm to see people who have been meditating for 20 years, and nothing bad about meditation. There can be great things, or certain types of meditation that can be great. So just saying, how do we get radical results? We laser focus on what is a specific programming and change it. And I don't want to eat worms either. So that means we could do dinner sometime.
Yes.
Because
this is not about the worms. It's about the
is
programming that comes with it and how to identify it. It's different for every single person.
It's about this. I feel, as I went through my injury, I spent over 6 years trying to heal and trying to figure it out, and desperately trying with every bit of my being, from diet and supplements and belief and affirmations. And when my right hand would get tired, I would write with my left hand, and binaural beats, and I would listen to them throughout the day. And my house would sound like an ashram, plus on top of the frequencies, plus on top of the magnets and the this and the that, and all of these things for years. And because I wasn't working. So I literally did everything I could. And now I realize that when you just target whatever's affecting your body and you change it, the results can be incredible. And as I mentioned, I've seen people, the woman that I mentioned with the tumor in her throat, there was a woman, tumor in her throat for several months, tried everything to get it to heal, then identified the specific emotions and changed it. As she did that, I didn't do it, just showed her how to use it, how to use her mind, and her ENT was shocked. And so it's just, again, the awareness that says I always tell people, don't check out, check in. So check in, find it, because this is what excites me.
Yes. Leaning into it and expanding into it and saying, I don't want to live with this pattern any longer. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to find out.
Yeah. What if everybody's able to get results? Like the way that in other words, I think we all want healthcare to get better. I think we all don't want people to be sick. We're spending trillions on healthcare, and more people are getting sick and sicker. And so the way to change, we need to know that we can, and then we need to do it. And so what would it look like if everybody's getting results? What would it look like if everybody's healing? That would be incredible.
Yes.
A spiritful world.
Yes. And you can see that on Brandy's website. It's brandygillmore.com, Gillmore. And you can see some of the medical thermography that she was talking about. There's all sorts of images on there, and people who've been through these experiences. And her book also, by the way, Master Your Mind and Energy to Heal Your Body. And also courses. You could actually experience and go through the course. You have several courses. Which one is the one that we're talking about on this?
From illness to wellness, the gift method, that one is just, I see people do amazing things all the time. Somebody just wrote in recently and was like, my blood work is normalized, and she had an autoimmune condition. My doctor can't believe it. And her pain's gone. And it's just, it's incredible.
And I love that it's a 4-step process. It's something that you can replicate and do over, and you won't get those little mind snakes that get in the way and try to sabotage you and pull you out of it. It's a 4-step process. It's simple.
Well, I would say it's simple, but it also has depth. Yeah, it does. It's real change. But it's fun. And it's like, honestly, if somebody said to me, if I would never want to go through my injury again, but I wouldn't take it back if I could, because of the way it changed my life. Now, again, I hope everybody does it better than me, and don't get injured. Just change your life.
Right. Go
You
there
could do that
first.
way too.
Yes, yes. And
Mhm.
also, Brandy, you do the live calls too, live uplift calls. Do you still do those?
I still do those. I
Oh,
do those. And what's fun about the live, so I kind of, sometimes uh it's just fun. And so I have a bunch of people from all over the world, and we'll get on a live uplift call, and it's literally just a call that everybody just, I help walk through shifting your energy, and people just feel like, oh my God, like game on. And it just helps, because the more you get, this is what happens. The more you get the positivity in and you get good at it, the easier it is. It's like anything else. Even when you start driving a car, you might first feel weird, or tying your shoes, it's hard to do. The more you get positivity in and build the neural pathways forward and program your mind for healing, it just becomes easy. And so that's what those live calls are, the uplift calls. So
wonderful. Well, thank you so much for everything and all the ways that you make it easy for us to embody the idea that the mind and the body is connected. And for us to really get that, you've made healing possible for all. That's the way I see it.
thank you. I would say maybe universe, God, divine energy, and of course, and I received that comment also. So
Yes,
thank
you
you.
do.
You're a beautiful being. I love what you do in the world, and I love the way
Mm.
you show up in the world. So thank you.
Thank you for your support and your love. Brandy Gilmore, again, is my guest. Master your mind and energy to heal your body. Her website is brandygilmore.com. Lots of goodies there too, and free things and live things and courses. And until next time, I invite you to stay aware.